My name is Rada Daniell, and I joined International Women's Peace Service, IWPS, as a volunteer in 2008. Since 2002, IWPS has been sending teams of women from different countries to our base in a village near the town of Nablus in Salfit region of the Palestinian occupied West Bank. I have been there regularly each autumn, staying several weeks to coincide with the Palestinian Olive Harvest, to volunteer with harvesting, engage in protective practice and other solidarity activities. The many times I have been back has enabled me to gain a deep insight into the lives of the Palestinian olive farmers and their families and observe the progressive, challenging impact of living under occupation. Consequently, I have been able to make informed comparisons between the different years and see the effect of increasing marginalization of the Palestinians under occupation, the ever more illegal land procurement, and disappearance of swathes of Palestinian olive trees. I and my fellow IWPS volunteers were to witness daily the increase in illegal settler brazen violence and intimidation towards the Palestinian olive farming community, watched over by the Israeli occupation force who would defend the settlers whatever they did. It is always an anxious time before we arrive at the village where IWPS is based. Just 35 miles away from Jerusalem, but it takes most of the day to travel there, as we have to go through the massive tense Kalandia checkpoint, which is the main entry and exit point for foreigners and the few Palestinians who are allowed by the Israelis to move between the annexed East Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank. Kalandia is situated in occupied territory, but Israel treats it as a border crossing. It is a gap in the infamous annexation or apartheid wall that Israel started illegally erecting in 2002. It is a humiliating journey for Palestinians who have no options. After leaving Kalandia behind, we then take a Palestinian road skirting around illegal settlements, of which there are about 290 in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, with a combined population of over 750,000 illegal settlers concentrated in a fragmented area about a third of the size of Wales. While the world was preoccupied during the 2 COVID years, illegal settlement construction expanded and escalated. On my return, I observed the breathtaking enormity of new land grabs scarring the historic hillsides of once Palestinian olive farms, now dotted with settlements. In 2019, we left a forest of cranes. In 2022, we found completed residential and industrial development. Illegal settlements are now outnumbering Palestinian cities and villages and are rapidly spreading and merging with each other, devouring more and more Palestinian olive fields. What will happen next to those Palestinian villages which are in their way? Due to continuous attacks by the occupying army and the illegal settlers who regularly raid Palestinian cities and villages, has provoked the rise of a defensive armed resistance in the nearby Nablus and the town of Jenin in the north. Every act of resistance leads to collective punishment in the form of indiscriminate shooting, house demolitions, or arbitrary arrest. In 2022, over 300 Palestinians have been killed. Every morning, we would wake up with the news of villages and towns raided and the devastating pictures of young martyrs whose lives were cut short in the previous night's raids. Shortly after we arrived, Nablus was blockaded for several weeks, and many farmers were unable to join their families as they traditionally do and harvest on their ancestral land in the neighboring villages. Palestinian olive farmers are not easily deterred from working on their land, with olive harvesting having been central to their livelihood for generations. The obligatory harvesting permits for farms next to illegal settlements, usually issued by the occupation authorities for October dates, were only forthcoming for the late November. Tell me what's going on here with the soldiers and with the harvest and.
As you know, they give us 2 days yesterday and before yesterday to pick the olives in sea area behind the settlement there. And people surely is not finishing the season because we have a very big season here, more than 11,000 dunam to pick it behind the settlement.
Those who tried to pick without a permit were violently threatened, intimidated, and were forced to turn back empty-handed. Palestinians objecting to the taking of their land inevitably lose through the occupiers' courts, despite possessing legal proof of ownership. Those who protest, try to resist or reclaim, inevitably end up in Israeli prisons, injured or even killed. For example, we witnessed the farmland belonging to the village of Brukin, a short distance from Palestinian houses, being taken by force, fenced off by barbed wire, and then staked with Israeli flags, a technique used all over occupied West Bank to connect illegal settlements and create settlement blocks. It has been clear to us, first-hand observers, that Israel's aim is to acquire all Palestinian-owned land eventually, achieved by whatever it takes to be rid of the rightful owners. The shock of what I have witnessed in Palestine in autumn 2022 was only surpassed on my return to UK by the silence in the media, including the UK government's support for the Israeli apartheid regime. Daily arrests and murder of Palestinians, demolitions of their homes, and constant, unchallenged, illegal procurement of Palestinian land that they have lived on for hundreds of generations is reality. What can we do? Visit Palestine to be with the Palestinian communities, join solidarity and activist organizations, boycott Israeli goods and companies which are complicit in the occupation of Palestine, and shout it from the rooftops. الجمال والجلال والثناء والبهاء في ربا والحياة والنجاة والهناء